We're working with humans, and for some reason, humans like fighting with each other.
Hello and welcome to Factual Animation Film Festival 2020. I'm Alex Widdowson, today here with Isha Mangalmurti. We're going to be talking about Beyond Borders, but before we do, I'd just like to remind you that we have tickets available for our digital screening of the program. This goes live on the 17th of October 2020 and will be available for a week. And if you go to the link below, you can get tickets today. So, Isha, do you want to tell us a little bit about your project, how it came about, how you met your participant?
Yes. So it all started around 2017. Uh, I was in my graduation semester at National Institute of Design, and I was always very affected and felt very strongly about this topic of wars happening all around the world, including our own country. And I have a few relatives who are doctors in the army. Some of them are humanitarian doctors, and so on. So it all started with a conversation with them, really. And the more I got to know, the more I wanted to know. And that's how it began. So I started reading more and more about the various organizations that do a lot of humanitarian work around the world, be it White Helmets, be it Doctors Without Borders, and many more. And I started contacting them, hoping to get more information and understand more about how they function. So MSF has a really big office in India itself as well, sorry, and they do a lot of work in Bihar and northeastern regions in the country. So their head of communications, Sana Beg, is the person I got in touch with, and she was kind enough to reply almost instantly. And I got talking to her, and she was so sweet. She was answering all my questions really patiently, and then she put me in touch with Dr. Allen. So I was in Calcutta at the time. I'm still in Calcutta, and it just so coincidentally happened that he was in Assam at the time, and he was going to be flying down to Kolkata in a week's time. So she was like, why don't you just hit him up and see, maybe he'll be available to talk for an hour or so, and you can talk to him and see how it goes. And I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. And at that time I had no idea what I wanted to do with this information. I just wanted to know how things work. So I was like, okay, let's do this. And in the excitement and everything, I called him, and he agreed. Fortunately, he was like, yeah, I have a busy day, but I can make some time. And he came down to our studio, and this was the first time I was ever doing a video recording, a video interview, a physical interview, with someone. So I was also super nervous, and but it went really well. We landed up talking for like 2 hours, and he had just so many stories to share. He had been working with MSF for almost 10 years by then, and he had been to so many different countries: Syria, Sierra Leone in Africa, where the whole Ebola outbreak began. He had worked in Lebanon, in Ethiopia, and a bunch of other countries. So it was just a treasure of stories. And like those 2 hours just flew by. And after he left, I realized that I had to put it in some story format. And I didn't know how to, because they rarely have any footage of what really goes on over there. He had a few pictures in the form of a presentation, but that was it. And there were so many stories, and all of these stories have one underlying uh, issue, which is that today humanitarians themselves are becoming the target instead of being someone who can help in these areas. With various different war laws coming into play, various different humanitarian laws changing, the way MSF itself functions, uh, instead of them being someone that people can go to for help, they are the ones who are often under attack in a lot of these conflicted areas. And that is what really hit me. I think moved me. That's a better word. And I realized that that's something that I really wanted to talk about in whatever film I'll end up making. So I sat with all the footage for days and landed up editing it down to 5 minutes. Again, I am an animation filmmaker, so I also had to make sure that it was a doable timeline. I couldn't have animated all 2 hours of it, so I edited it down to about 5 minutes of his experiences, which I had to also ensure that I wasn't editing any information out of it. I was keeping all the information intact factually, and at the same time, sticking to the timeline of the whole thing.
So
So
I wanted to ask, you made the choice of showing his face in video recording at the end,
yeah,
but we also see him as an animated character. Um,
yeah.
so how did you decide which way to go round, and why wasn't he always video, or why wasn't he always animated?
Right. So I didn't want to give away his identity in the beginning of the film itself, because the content that he was speaking about was more important, I felt, than just giving away who this person is. Because especially what happens here, I feel, at least with me personally, once I see the person, I make some n- what, presumptions, or
Yeah.
you have some notions in your head, and you land up seeing things from that point of view. And I
Mm.
didn't want that to happen to any of the viewers, so I just wanted purely the story to be out there first. And then as I sat and storyboarded the thing, I realized that just telling the story wasn't fair either. I would want to know who was the person talking about all these things. So I decided to reveal who it was at the end. And initially, I wanted it to be a very short, like a 30-second clip of him at the end, just to just as an introduction to the voice, just to put a face to the voice. But then, so the recording that you see at the end was something I recorded after all the animation was done. So I sat down with him almost 2 years after doing the initial interview.
Mm.
And by then, he had also been to more countries, on more missions, and more projects. And when I asked him the same questions again, his answers were different. They were longer, some were shorter, some just came out organically more powerful. And when I recorded it, I felt like I needed to keep that whole answer, the one he says at the end. I didn't feel like editing it down to 30 seconds or anything. So that's why it's almost like a minute long thing at the end, because it was something so important what he was saying. I felt like it needed to be there.
Yeah, so I mean, it's an amazing project. It's obviously a very important cause. So I'd like to really thank you for sharing that with our audience. And
Thank
thank you again for joining us in this conversation. And we'll see you again, hopefully soon, next year at
you. Yes. Hope
FAFF.
so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so
Bye.
much.